Hi, I'm going to show you today how to use the Adobe Type products. If you have Adobe Creative Cloud, then you should have right here at the very top of your screen this little icon for Adobe. So go ahead and you're going to open that up, and you're going to see here it's going to tell you everything about all the different products that you have as far as what you've subscribed to. But where you want to go is to the F right here for fonts, and it's going to take you into another screen. Right here you can see on the screen that these are all the typefaces that I actually have open right now with Adobe, which is probably too many. If I click on these, it'll show me right here in the window what those typefaces look like. And then if I want to finally close some of them because I do think I have too many open, which can slow down your machine, you can just go ahead and turn them off by clicking the toggle. And then Creative Cloud will tell you in a little window up here that it's been closed. Usually also Adobe will tell you if you have too many typefaces over and kind of warn you, so you could watch for that too. Then if you want to add some typefaces that you want to use in some of your projects, you go up to Browse More Fonts, and that actually is going to take you online. And when you get here, Adobe is going to load all the different fonts that they have available for you. You can go over here and you can pick your typefaces by different styles that they have tagged for you. I prefer the classification type of search instead, so you would go down here and you could click sans serif, and then it should reshuffle over here all to sans serif typefaces. You can change that to serif, and then it should also reshuffle to all the serif faces. And then you can scroll down, go to other pages to go through them all. And you can see there's going to be quite a lot. There's 29 pages. Another way to continue filtering is, let's say you do decide that you want to go with the sans serif, then you can go ahead and filter more over here by looking at different weights of fonts. From here's a real heavy bold, and then that should break that down to very bold faces. You can filter more by the width, by the contrast of the shape of the typeface, by the X height, um, standard or caps only, and then it looks like here you can also sort by the kind of number styles that it has. So let's go back up here. You can also search. So you can search right up here. You can type in, if you're specifically looking for a typeface, right here you can change it to do whatever word that you want. Let's say if you are working on a logo, like if I was working on one of our projects is the logo for the university made out of my name, I could put Kaiser University, and then all the typefaces I look at, I can already start seeing how it's going to look with my name. I can search it also by list if you don't like the way there's the grid. I can change the type size, so if I want to be able to see those letters a little bit bigger. Here you can see how they're sorting it for you. They can be sorted by featured, name, or newest. Let's see. And then let's say we find a typeface that we like, which I don't really see one I like here. Let's see if they're all bold. So let's just pick one. Let's say we find a typeface that we like and we want to add this to our programs. We just go over here and we can view the family. Another thing is you can heart it so that it'll actually save it for you and you can go back to it later, but we can go view family. And you can see you'll be able to see all the different weights that it comes in. And you can individually activate the typeface so it will turn on in your programs. You can also, I think you can activate up here where you activate all of them. So you could activate all 18 if you wanted. You could also just activate them individually. So you just go ahead and activate and put the toggle over. And then when you go into your actual program, whichever program you're going to use, whether it's InDesign or Illustrator or Photoshop, that typeface will now be able for you to use. And you can see that Creative Cloud actually told me that that typeface had been activated. Okay, so this is how you will open up a brand new project in Adobe Illustrator. You can go down here into here to get Adobe Illustrator. Hopefully you put it into your dock. If you haven't put it into your dock, you can go into your applications, and then you would have to find it, Adobe Illustrator, and then you can open it up right here. If you want to put in your dock and you haven't already, you just drag this down into the dock area, and then it'll put it in there. Let's go ahead and go backwards, and we'll open it up down here. And we're going to get this window first, where it gives you some options of different templated sizes and different types of projects that you can open. It also shows you some of the projects that you've already worked on. If you've already worked in Illustrator like I have, I don't tend to use this area down right here where it tells me where some of my projects are, because if you move a project anywhere within your desktop, it won't be able to find it, and that's a little bit unnerving. So I usually do not use this. I would usually instead go to Open. But we're going to create a new doc, so I'm going to go to Create New. And again, here we have all of these templated sizes that we can pick from. If we're doing print, it'll shuffle them all for print. We could go to web, and it'll pick out some different sizes for web, which can actually be, these can be quite nice for web because webs are standard sizes. But what I want to do is focus on print, and I want to move us over to this window here. So the first thing we can do is we can actually name the project right here. So we're going to highlight that. The project naming convention for this class is last name, first initial, the exercise or project number, and then the name of the project. So I'm going to type in Kaiser K underscore exercise 1 underscore type portrait. Here you get to say what the size of the project's going to be. It's in points right now, which some of you might not be familiar with, but it gives you choices of how you want your project to be set up as far as its size and its measurement system. Let's just go to inches, because we're probably all most familiar with that. It has already put in the letter size for us, which is what we need. It's already put in the orientation as vertical, which is what we need. And we just need one artboard for this project. Now, bleed is something we're not going to talk about in this project, but bleed is always 0.125 inches. You just need to memorize that. So let's just put that in there now, and we'll discuss it later in class. But it's 0.125, and if I hit tab, it'll fill all of them in for me because I have this chain linked, meaning all these numbers are linked together. Whatever number I put in one is going to go to all of them. If this was unhooked, then I would need to put them all in individually. For this project, since it is a print project, we're going to leave this as CMYK color, but if it was a web job, we would change it to RGB, but we're going to keep it as CMYK color. We want the project to be high resolution and really good quality, so we're going to keep that at the 300 ppi, which is the best quality that it can be at, but we do have other choices here. If we were working in screen, we would go ahead and reduce that. So we're going to keep that at 300. The preview mode we're going to keep as default. The more settings doesn't really seem to do much. You've got everything that you need right here. And then we're going to say create. And here is our project, and it's named what we already named it. It has the bleed line, the red line around on the outside. It's the correct size, and we would be ready to go. Okay, so now we're inside the Adobe Illustrator file that we had just made. And I want you to just take some time to look around. It can be a little overwhelming when you first open it up, but you'll get used to it. Over here on the left-hand side, you have your tools. If you hover and just kind of hang out on top of the tool for a little bit, it'll pop up and tell you what the tool is. So until you have them all memorized, that's a great way to just to know what they're going to do before you click on them. If there's a little triangle at the end of the tool, that means if you click and hold, then there are more tools underneath that, and they aren't organized in a way. So when you're on the type tool, all the tools that are underneath it have something to do with type. If you're on the shape tool, everything underneath it is different shapes. So you'll start to get the hang of that. Over on this side, we've got a bunch of icons that might be unrecognizable to you for right now. But what you can do is you can just hover right in this area until you get the double arrows, and then pull it out, and you'll see that it now tells you, gives you some naming, so you can start to associate the name of it with the icon. If you ever lose all your tools when you're working on a project, like all your tools just disappear, don't panic. You can go up to right here, and it's probably that you just accidentally clicked off of them. They don't really get deleted. You can go back up to here and take it to Essentials Classic. That's the workspace that I like to work in. Another one is Essentials. Essentials just gets rid of all of those ones on the side, so I kind of like having them out, so I do the Essentials Classic. Another way to bring all these back out is to go up to Window, go to Workspace, and again you can pick your workspace, and I like that one. There's always more than one way to get something, or to get somewhere in Illustrator. So for example, most of all of these that are down here on the side, they can also be brought up by going up here. You go up to Window, you can see how these start to overlap. For example, if we go down to Type, and we go to Character, this pops out, but it was also right here too. So there's more than one way to get something. If you find that you just can't memorize these or find these, you can always go up here to find them. Up across here, this is organized pretty well. You know, if you want to do something that's all overarching about the file, you go into File, and you'll find like how to save, how to export, place in an image. If you go to Edit, this is again more of an overarching file type of area. It's editing everything. All this will be working with objects. Everything for type is in here. If you want to select something, it's in here. Special effects are in this one. Your view options, like if you want to put on guides or something like that, that's going to be all right in here. Zooming in, zooming out. And then your window again, which correlates to all of this information down the side. So again, if you can't find something, just slowly go through these, read the topics, and what you're looking for is probably organized pretty well under that. The tools we're going to be using for this project are going to be a little limited just so that you can get used to the program. So we're going to be using this tool right here, which is called the selection tool. And whenever this tool, this little arrow here is in black, that's the selection tool, and that means it will select everything of your shape, not just parts of it. It'll select the whole thing. And then if you click under it, you'll see that there's the direct selection tool. And the direct selection tool is same shape, but it's white on the inside. And when it's white in the inside, that means it'll select just parts of what it is that you're working with, or the object you're working on. So for example, I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to make a box with this tool. And I'm going to go to swatches, and I'm just going to make sure it has an outline on it so that you can see it. And if I click on it, this box, with the selection tool when it's black, then it will click on the entire box, and I can move the entire box. If I click on it with the direct selection tool, then I can click on just the sides. I can click on this side right here, and I can pull it out and reshape it if I want to. It still lets me click on the whole thing, but I can also click on just the sides of it, and I can hold the shift key and click on the sides and then have both of those clicked. So it just gives you a few more options. Okay, the text tool or the type tool will be, you'll be using that a lot in this exercise 1. So let's go over to the text tool, and we're going to click on that. And then one way to make text on the page is you can just click, and you notice that it added some just Greek type there for you. Another way that you can make a text is to do a text box. And so you create a box and it fills it with this Greek text. If you don't like that it's filling it with the Greek text, all you have to do is go up to Illustrator, to Preferences, go to Type, and you can go ahead and turn that off. It's right here. Fill new type objects with placeholder text. So you can turn that off, and I will probably turn that off later. But let's just leave it there for now, because if you notice, there's two different ways that I made the text box. One of them, I made a box and it filled it, and then the handles are dark. And then there's another way here where the handles are white. You can go back and forth between the two. You can click on that little button and it'll make the circle dark. You can do the same thing here. Click on that twice and it'll make it light. But there's pros and cons to both of these different ways of making the type. Okay. So notice here that when I made that type box bigger, it just stretched that type and it really kind of destroyed the typeface. So we don't recommend ever stretching type. But instead what you could do is you could hold the Shift key, again pull on it, and now it will make that typeface larger, but it'll keep it proportional and it won't ruin the typeface. So that's a real plus of keeping your type in that way. Now on here, if you were to try to grab on the handles, what it does is it changes the box shape and the type goes with it. So notice that the type didn't get any bigger or smaller, it's just the box got bigger or smaller. So you can see how this is kind of a nice way if you're setting large body of copy, you'll want to keep it like this with this dark handles. But maybe if you're doing a headline or some kind of special treatment, you'll want to keep the type with the clear or white handle. And then you'll be able to, while holding the Shift key, I'm holding the Shift key as I drag up and down to make that typeface bigger or smaller. And again, what I was saying was if I click on these twice, see how it changes the handle to the clear. And then now I'm just stretching and it's all about changing the size of the type. If I hold the Shift key down, it'll do it all proportional and it won't ruin that typeface. And I can always take it back to the other way again. It's always better though, if you noticed how when I made that box bigger, the type didn't go with it. It's always better not to really mess with that, with the handles and change them back and forth, because that's what happens is that the computer will keep that typeface in the box shape that it was and then change the box shape. So it's better to make your type box the way that you want it first and how you want to work in the type than to try to keep on changing them. So I'm going to do Command Z and just bring it back to how it originally was. One more time. There we go. Okay. If I want to change that typeface, which I really do because I don't like it, I would just go back over here and I can just highlight my type. And then what I do is I can go to character down here, and right here it has all the things that I can do to change that typeface. And I'm going to go ahead and change it to pretty much anything than what it was. Just change it, and the same here. I can highlight this, whoops. I can highlight this and change it to something else. Let's see. Another thing you're going to want to do a lot of with this project is just rotate your type too. You might want to rotate it around. And you notice when I get to the corners of the type box, that's where these little arrows come up, and that means that I can rotate the type. And if I hold the Shift key down as I rotate the type, it'll do it at increments of 45 degrees. And that can be really helpful, like if you want to just go right up as a vertical. Same with this one. And notice again how it deals with the type differently. It keeps that type within the box and it rotates it differently than when it's more free-flowing like this one is. As you're working with the tools, like if I go back over here to the text tool, pay attention to these little notes like here, like the Shift plus T. These are all quick keys. And as you get better with the Illustrator and all of the Adobe products, you'll start to memorize some of these and you'll be able to go back and forth between tools pretty quickly. Like for example, on the Select tool and Direct Select tool, you've got the V and the A. So you can go back and forth, like if I'm in this tool, see how it's black, and then I do the Command A and it goes, it should have gone to the white. There we go. Okay, and then I can go back and forth between the two tools by using the quick keys. For this project, we are going to treat the type or the typeface as a piece of art instead of a piece of live type. So to do that, you're going to go ahead and go back to your type tool. You can click down on the board, and so it makes some type. I'm going to just go ahead and highlight this and just make it one letter just for this exercise. And so what I have here is I've got a piece of type, and it's live type because and we call it live type when I can go ahead and click back on it and I can just, keep typing in it. So that's live type. What we want to do is actually make this type a piece of art. So there I have the letter that I want. I'm going to go into my direct selection tool and have it highlighted. And then I'm going to go up to type and I'm going to go to create outlines. And in create outlines, it kind of looks like it didn't do anything, but if we go up closer to it, this is now no longer a piece of working or live type. It is now a piece of art. It has outlines all around it. You can see it there. If I were to try to highlight it with the type tool, I can't highlight it anymore. I can make it bigger or smaller. I'm going to hold the shift key down to do that so I don't change the size at all. So I'm holding the shift key down and I'm making it larger. Again, if I were to not hold the shift key down and try to make it bigger, I would stretch it out, which we don't ever want to do with type. Notice if I were to click on it and then go to the direct select tool, I could actually click on just the little sides of it and again distort the type, which I don't want to do. So I will stay with working with the selection tool instead so that doesn't happen. So in this project with your making your type portraits, this is how you're going to work. You're going to pick out a typeface that you like or ones that work for you. And then you will take that type and you will turn it into outlined face, and then that's what you will work with to make your type portrait. You'll work with making your type bigger or smaller as you need it. You'll work with going to the corners and kind of rotating it to make it work or whatever you need. But you will not be working in live type. Okay, I want to show you the glyph palette. So typefaces come with the letters and numbers that we expect and some of the other extra things that you see on your keyboard, but some typefaces come with some really extra and really special different options for letters or different little dingbats or something like that. And the way you would find that is by going up to the window, you go to type, and then you go to glyphs. And I've already typed out, these are just typed out, this is live text. And if you notice when I click on it, you see this window changes. This is your glyph palette right here. And you can see like this typeface, which I think is Avenir, it really has the letters that you expect, and it does have some extra things like the fractions right here. But it doesn't, I mean, it's all good, but it doesn't have as many as like when I click on this one here and you see this changes, almost every letter has another option. And that happens a lot with scripts. The scripts will a lot of times have a lot more options, like the different shapes of the A's, the different shapes. Look at all these different B's that you could pick from. So for example, I'm going to click on this typeface and I'm going to highlight the L, and it brings me down to here. This is the L I'm using right now, but if I wanted to change it, I could click on this cell and it would change it to that one. Or since it's the beginning of a word, I might want to have a little more of a flourish on it. Now notice that when I highlighted it like that, this little palette came up where I can quickly see and go through all the different glyphs or different options for that letter. And that's a new feature, and that feature doesn't work with all typefaces. It works with newer typefaces, but that's really nice. But you can always just open up this glyph window as I showed you how to do. The other thing that you can do now with this glyph palette, because I think you're going to be using it a lot for this project, is instead of having to go to window all the time, once you open it once, go ahead and just drag it over here, and then you can leave it right there, and you can open it up as needed. So this is another, like I already checked this one. This is Mrs. Ives, and this one has some nice glyphs in it too that are kind of surprising. If you scroll down, some nice littegers, small caps, a few little dingbats down there at the end, but it has some pretty nice and fun things going on once you highlight it. These double O's are really nice. So I think any typeface that you pick out for this project, go ahead, open up the glyphs palette and see what else it might have. This typeface here, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it by clicking on it and pulling down and holding down the Option key, and that will make a duplicate of it. And I'm going to highlight it, close this, and then go back to character, because I just happen to know that this typeface actually comes with, see, the beloved ornaments, comes with the typeface, and it has all these little ornaments that comes with it. We could also open up the glyph palette again and see all of them. So really all of these would be open to you to use. I wouldn't use the ones that are leaves and flowers. I guess you could. It's a typeface. So you could have the option of using any of these with the glyphs. But again, we're working with type as art. So anything you decide to use, you want to go ahead and click on it, go up to type, go to create outlines, and then that will create, make the type outlined, and it's no longer live type anymore. And then because I did this into outline as a group, I have to go up to object, ungroup, and then now I can click on these things all, individually. Okay, I'm pretty much about ready to start. So I have picked out some type styles that I like and I think are going to work for my drawing. I've got my letters picked out, upper and lower case. I've got some glyphs. I've got some little extra things going on. I am going to go ahead and highlight all of these, and I'm going to turn them into, I'm going to go to type, and I'm going to make them create outlines. And then remember to work with them individually. I'm going to have to go to Object, Ungroup. So now they're individual things that I can pull and highlight. But what I haven't done yet is put in my sketch or put in my photograph for me to follow. So Illustrator and InDesign and Photoshop all work with layers. So right here is the layer palette, and I'm going to open that up. And you can see I've already got one layer that is just automatically made for me, and right now what's on it is all that type. So I'm going to click on this a couple times until it highlights, and I'm going to write type. So that's my type layer. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my sketch. So I'm going to go up to File, Place, and you can see right here, here's a quick command that you will probably end up memorizing. But for now, File, Place. Here is my sketch, and I'm going to just place that in. I'm going to make it a little bit larger by holding onto the Shift key and dragging it up, just because even though I may be working or may want to have this illustration smaller, for right now I just want to work on it while make it a little bit bigger. And as you notice, it's got this blue outline on it, and this also, when I highlight any of my art right up here, my type art, it also has the blue outline because it's right now all on the same layer. But what I really want to do is I want to put this on a layer all by itself and lock it down, and I want to put it on a layer that's going to be underneath my type. So I'm going to go over here and open up this window, and I'm going to create a new layer. And it opens up this window, makes it a different color, and gives me the ability to name it. So I'm going to name this sketch. Say okay. Then what I need to do is drag this image onto this layer, and all I have to do is click on it like it's highlighted, and then right here I drag this little blue square up to the red, and now it's on that layer. So if I were to click on the eyeball and turn that layer on and off, my sketch goes away. And the same with my type, if I do that, okay? But what I want to do is actually keep my sketch, but I want it to be below my type. So I'm going to just drag it down below. So now my sketch is right there. It's underneath my type. Then I can start moving and putting my type on top of it and start making my type portrait. Another thing I want to do is I want to lock that layer down because I don't want to be moving my type around, and you see how it's highlighting the picture as well as the type. So what I want to do is lock it down, and you do that you just have to memorize it as you right here is that you go ahead and lock that. The other thing I might want to do is to click on this image here, and I might want to make it a little transparent because I think the black of the sketch and the black of my type are going to make it a little hard for me to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to go up to opacity, and I'm going to bring that down and make it a little lighter so I can still see it, but I can now see my type a little bit better. One of the nice things about Illustrator and all of the Adobe products is that when you're working in them and you're in a certain tool, it kind of intuitively knows what kind of functions you might want to do. So notice how when I'm in this tool, or if I go into the type tool, this stuff, it changes up here because it knows I'm in the type tool, and it knows there's a good chance I'm going to want to change my character or play with my paragraphs, or and then when I go here, it changes to a different set of tools. So let's see. Just want to make sure this is all set. So it's got an opacity on it. I'm going to lock it down. Now I'm going to go up to my type, and I'm just going to start putting my type onto my image of how I want it. Now I don't have a big plan like you guys should have. So I'm just going to start grabbing some letters. One of the things I liked about this sketch was this shape right here, because it already looks like a letter. This shape right here already looks like a letter. So that was one of the first things I was going to do, is kind of figure out like how could I maybe use this Y to make that shape. Now note what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the Y like I have, but I'm also going to hold down the Option key. And when I do that, you see the double arrows. And what I'm doing is I'm duplicating it. So I'm keeping all my letters up there in their original format, and then I'm dragging this one down, holding the Option key, and now I've duplicated it. I'm going to bring it down here to this area. I'm going to hold the Shift key, and I'm going to make it bigger. Now I'm going to then rotate it and make it start to fit with that little drawing right there. And I might have to go back over and get another letter to make this shape right here. You know, right here, this shape of the bottom of the lip, that would be great to use one of these brackets. Again, I'm holding the Option key down as I drag it over because that's duplicating it. Go up a little closer, I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to hold the Shift key down and drag it to make it bigger. Put it into position, maybe rotate it a little more. And that's how you're going to start making your type portrait. And then as you're working, I can just do a couple more just to make it. So again, here I'm going to rotate this, put it here, make it bigger, hold the Shift key, make it bigger. Rotate it some more. I might use another one just the other way to make this shape. But what I also wanted to show you is how as you're working, you can go down into your layers palette and you can turn that bottom sketch layer off so you can kind of see how are you doing. And you'll probably be doing that quite a lot as you start adding your type into place. Another tool that you might want to use is called the reflection tool. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab just any letter here. Again, Option, drag, and I'm duplicating it. And I'm going to go ahead and make it bigger, holding the Shift key. And there I've got my letter M. But if I go over to this tool right here, this is the Reflect tool. And then if I go over to my letter, and what it can do, depending on how you twirl it around and hold the Shift key, is it will flip it around. It'll reflect what you already have or what you've already seen. There it is, like that. And it can make a whole new shape for you, because now it really doesn't look like an M at all. It looks like a squiggle, which I could see me being able to use somewhere. And the last little tip I want to tell you for this project is don't rely too much on the parentheses and the brackets. That can become kind of a crutch to work with, because they are a really good shape, but I think you can come up with some much more interesting work if you try to really incorporate some of the letters instead of just using the brackets. And one more thing, I am also okay with if you go away from the selection tool and use the direct selection tool. And you might want to do things like, I can use that tool and I can just click on the dot of the J and then go ahead, oops, and delete that. And that might help that to look a little better than to have that dot right there. Now I might go ahead and do that right here too.